Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to discuss about the formation of steam and the terms related to formation of steam. So what is the steam formation? So steam formation basically we done with a particular type of liquid. So suppose if we have a water which is maintained at 0 degrees centigrade. This is the lowest temperature of water and the water is maintained at 0 degree centigrade. Now here, this is the amount of water. And this particular amount of water we usually denote with the help of volume. So suppose the water is a fluid, so the volume is denoted by Vf. And here we are considering a piston cylinder arrangement. So this is our cylinder and this is our piston. This particular part is our piston. So let me write here. And suppose this piston is at this particular position and we are fixing the position of piston with the help of one weight W. So here W is what? It is a weight. So this weight is placed over this piston to keep the position of piston at one place. So we are considering a cylinder which is filled with Vf volume of water and this volume is maintained at 0 degree centigrade. So let me write down the first term which is the volume of fluid. So volume of fluid we are considering in meter cube. This is the unit of volume of fluid. So here we have a cylinder fitted with piston and that piston, this particular piston can move in upward and downward direction. So what we are doing, here we are keeping a weight W. So this piston will be maintained at one position. So it can move in downward direction or it can move in upward direction if we are increasing or decreasing the volume of the fluid or liquid. Now, here we have to learn about the steam formation. So how we form steam? So steam formation mainly happen with the help of temperature. So when we increase the temperature of water, it will slightly convert into the steam. Here it will slowly convert into the steam if we are continuously increasing the temperature of water. So initially the temperature of water is maintained at 0 degree centigrade. And here whatever heating we are providing to this particular water, it is providing at constant pressure. And this heating will continue till boiling point is reached. So after boiling, it will convert into the steam. This water will convert into the steam. So here what we are doing, if we are imparting the heat or heat is imparted to water, so what will happen? It will increase the temperature and it will rise the pressure also, and in this condition this water will reach the boiling point, and when it reaches the boiling point it will start converting into the steam. So what is the boiling temperature? The boiling temperature we can define as the temperature of formation of steam, or it is also called saturation temperature. So another thing which I'm going to write down is Ts, that is the saturation temperature. So saturation temperature is what? Here I'm going to write here only. So the saturation temperature is the boiling temperature. Or we can write down the temperature of formation of steam. So in this particular cylinder, initially the water is maintained at constant temperature 0 degree centigrade. Now suppose if we are heating the water from here and continuously the temperature of water will increase. So what will happen in second stage? This water will reach the saturation temperature limit. In that case, the pressure will be constant only. So in second condition, suppose this is our piston. So piston will be at the same position, the weight will be at the same position, and this water will reach the saturation temperature. Now here what is happening? When the water is reaching the boiling point, after that particular point only, this piston will try to change its position. So what will happen here? When the water reaching the boiling point, there will be slight increase in volume of water we will consider, due to which the piston will move upward and we will obtain the work with the help of displacement work. Displacement work we can define. Suppose we are defining the work done by this particular system. So it will be defined by the PV, that is called displacement work. So in this condition, in second diagram, suppose this is our first diagram and this is the second diagram. So initially the temperature was 0 degree, and while heating, the temperature of the water is continuously increasing and it will reach a particular limit where the water start boiling. And here the water is under pressure. So when the water is not subjected to any kind of pressure, in that case the saturation temperature is different. But if the water is subjected to any kind of force or pressure, in that case the saturation temperature is different. In both the condition we will consider different saturation temperature. So here the saturation temperature is defining as the boiling temperature of the water. So when we are continuously giving heat to this water, it will reach the saturation temperature, but at that point the piston will not start moving in any direction or in upward direction. Now when the piston, it will try to move in upward direction when the water start boiling, or here this TS temperature we are considering when the water is tend to boil. It is not started boiling, it will tend to boil. So here in this condition piston will be in as it is condition, and slowly if we are increasing the temperature, so in that case what will happen, the water will try to convert in steam slowly. Here complete water will not convert into the steam at one particular time, it will convert into the steam slowly. So some part of fluid will be in the form of water only and some form of fluid will be in the form of steam. And in this condition, when the water is reaching the saturation temperature, this particular piston will try to move in upward direction because of the expansion process. This is our piston, and this weight will also move in upward direction with piston, and here we will have steam here. This fluid will have, or some part of fluid will convert into the steam. So what kind of steam it is? It will be wet steam. This is our water only. And this water will maintain at one particular temperature. So some part of water is converting into steam and some part of water is still a water. Now, if we are continuously increasing the temperature of the water, so at one point it will completely convert into the steam. So at one point the complete water is going to convert into steam. So suppose at that point our position of piston is this and weight will be as it is above the piston, and this particular water or complete water convert in the form of steam. So at this point, what type of steam will be formed? Here, this particular steam will be dry saturated steam. There is no fluid inside the steam, so it is called dry saturated steam. Completely dry steam because of increase in temperature. So at this point, the volume is Vf, and at this point the volume is what? The volume is complete volume of gas, because steam is a kind of gas. So this particular steam is represented as dry saturated steam, and volume is defined as the volume of the dry saturated steam, or Vg. So here Vf is the volume of the fluid and Vg is the volume of the gas. So if we want to define the difference of Vf and Vg, so obviously Vg is greater, so it will be Vg minus Vf. So it will be defined as delta V or Vfg we can define. So this particular difference, suppose this is the difference. So this difference is defined as Vg minus Vf. Vg minus Vf. And here the complete steam is formed. So this particular area is filled with the dry saturated steam when there is no water droplet present. That is called dry saturated steam. Wet steam is what? When the steam is having some amount of liquid or water. So that is called the wet. And dry saturated when there is no amount or no water or no liquid is present into the steam. So that is called dry saturated steam. Now if we are further increasing the temperature of this steam, so that steam will continuously increase its volume. Here what is happening? Here volume is Vf, and at this particular part the volume is again Vf till it's boiling, and in this particular part what is happening? The water is trying to convert into the steam. So volume of this particular liquid or fluid is increasing, and when it is completely converted into the steam, so volume is again increasing. So what is happening? When we are increasing the temperature continuously, the volume is increasing. So in this particular condition, this is the last part and this is our piston. So why this piston is moving upward? This is because of increase in temperature, and at this particular point our steam will become superheated steam. Superheated steam. And superheated steam is defined by the volume V superheated. This is the volume of superheated steam. So here if we want to define the work done during this process, so it is defined by the displacement work, and it is defined by what? P is the constant pressure and it is V is defined by the Vg minus Vf. So this is the displacement work. So here we know when the liquid is changing its phase, in that case temperature is constant, otherwise temperature will continuously increase. So initially when water starts boiling, so it is basically happen with the help of sensible heat, and when it is converting into what? It is converting into steam. So this is happening because of latent heat of vaporization. So what is the main source of conversion? It is the latent heat. Initially the heat is sensible heat, and when it is converting its phase, it is considered as latent heat, and the next condition is superheat. When it is the temperature is going beyond the dry saturated steam temperature, so it is called superheated steam or superheat condition. So this particular condition we can define with the help of one graph. So here we have one graph. In this particular graph, we are defining the variation of temperature and heat addition. So initially, when we are on origin point, so at this point, the temperature will be 0, and suppose if we are considering heat addition as Q, so this Q value will be 0. So we will start from here. Now, this is all about the steam formation. So steam formation we have learned with the help of change in temperature and change in volume of the water. So initially we will consider one particular volume of the water and we will heat the water till boiling point. So when the water is heating till the boiling point, when the phase has not changed, in that case, this water is heating with the help of sensible heat. So here we are starting with the heating of water. So heat, when the water is trying to reach the saturation temperature, it is called the sensible heat. So this particular part is called the sensible heat. Here we are defining temperature change and the heat addition. So heat addition we will define on this part, horizontal side, and vertical side we will define the temperature. So here heat addition, this particular amount of heat till it reach the saturation temperature, it is called sensible heat. And it is basically denoted by HF because fluid is involved here. So HF is the sensible heat. Now, once it reaches the saturation temperature, it will start converting into the steam. So what is happening here? It is mainly happening by the evaporation process. So evaporation process is converting the water into steam. So this is mainly happened with the help of latent heat of evaporation or latent heat of vaporization. So this particular amount of heat is called the latent heat. And here you can see the temperature variation. So this graph is representing what? Temperature variation. Why? Because temperature is continuously increasing during heating. But when it reaches the saturation temperature and we are considering evaporation, in that condition, phase change is happening. So during phase change, the temperature will be constant. So that is why this particular point Ts is constant here. Now once it is converting into steam completely, in that case we can superheat that steam. So this is mainly happening with the help of superheat or heat of superheat. So this particular part is defined as heat of superheating. So this is defined by HSUP, or this latent heat is defined by HFG. Why it is HFG? Because this is the combination of fluid and steam both, fluid and gas both. So here initially the water is heating with the help of sensible heat, then it is evaporating by the latent heat, and then if we are considering superheating, so it is mainly happening with the help of heat of superheat, and it will reach the maximum temperature, that is called the superheated temperature. So Ts is what? Ts is superheated temperature, and Ts is what? It is this TSUP. This will be TSUP, and Ts will be saturation temperature. And here HF is the sensible heat and HFG is the latent heat. So these are the main terms related to steam formation. So one by one I will explain about these important terms. So let's start with the first important term. So let me write down here what are the main important terms. So the first term which is very important, that is the sensible heat. So sensible heat, this sensible heat we will define for water and it is denoted by HF. So what is this sensible heat? So sensible heat we can define as the quantity of heat absorbed by the water when it is heated from 0 degree centigrade to boiling point. So sensible heat is what? When the water is boiling from, or water is changing its temperature from 0 to the boiling point. So that particular type of heat is called sensible heat. And it is also called total heat of water or liquid heat invariable. So here the sensible heat we can define as the quantity of heat absorbed by a particular mass of water. So in this particular diagram, we can define the volume Vf as well as the mass of the fluid, that is mf or m. So this m we are considering here 1 kg. So this heat is received by 1 kg of water. So the sensible heat we can define for a particular mass when the quantity of heat absorbed by 1 kg of mass of water when it is heated from 0 degree centigrade to boiling point till saturation temperature. So this is called the sensible heat. Now when we are changing the temperature from 0 degree centigrade, where sensible heat is taken as 0. So at 0 degree centigrade, the sensible heat will be 0. And suppose the temperature is reaching 100 degree centigrade. In that case, the value of sensible heat will change. Why? Because temperature is changed at that particular point. So at 0 degree centigrade, the sensible heat is 0. But at 100 degree centigrade, the value of sensible heat will change. So what is the value of HF? So it is 418 kilojoule. Basically, at 100 degree centigrade, we can define the value of HF is 418 kilojoule. But suppose if we want to define the value of HF at 20 degree centigrade, so its value will change. Now what is this value? So its value will be what? This 418 we can define by 4.18 into 100, and this 100 is the temperature. So here this 20 degree centigrade is defining the value of HF as 4.18 into, it will be what? 100 minus 20. So the final value will be 334.4 kilojoule. So by this way we can define the value of HF. Suppose if we want to define the value at 50 degree centigrade, so it will be what? 4.18 into 100 minus 50. So whatever value we will get, it will be the sensible heat of water. So by this way we can define the exact value of sensible heat. Now the next term is called latent heat. And this latent heat is mainly used for phase change. So the latent heat is defined as the amount of heat required to convert the water at a given temperature and pressure into steam at the same temperature and pressure. So latent heat is what? The heat which is required for phase change. But in this condition, the temperature and pressure will be same. The temperature and pressure will not vary. So this latent heat we can define as So the latent heat we define as the amount of heat which is required to convert the water into steam at a given temperature and pressure, and that pressure and temperature will be constant throughout the phase change, and it is usually denoted by HFG because in this condition our liquid and steam will be in mixed form. That is why it is called HFG. F for the fluid, G for the gas. And the latent heat value will continuously vary with variation of pressure. It will not be constant. It will be variable with the pressure variation. So this is about the latent heat. Now let's see the third term. So the third term is dryness fraction. So dryness fraction is what? The amount of dryness in the mixture of steam and water, or the amount of dryness in particular steam. So this dryness fraction we can define on the basis of the amount of dry saturated steam. Suppose here we have the water, so it will be completely in fluid form. Here also the water will be in fluid form, but here the water is in gaseous form and in the fluid form. So this gaseous form steam will contain some amount of water. That is why it is called wet steam. But when water is completely converted into the steam by increasing the temperature, so here at one end or at one point, the steam will mix with some water, and after some time, after increasing temperature, this steam will remove all water or every particle of water from it, so that steam will convert into dry saturated steam. So here the dryness of steam we can define as the dryness fraction. So the dryness fraction we can define, it is related with the type of steam. Either it is wet steam or dry steam. So it is defined as the ratio of mass of the actual dry steam to the mass of steam contained in the vessel or cylinder. So dryness fraction we can define as the dryness fraction, it is denoted by X. It is defined as the ratio of mass of actual dry steam to the mass of steam contained into the cylinder. So here we have, suppose this particular steam, wet steam. So from this steam, the amount of dry steam will be defined as mass of the dry steam, and the complete mass we are defining by M. So this mass of dry steam is defining the dryness, or it is related to dryness fraction. So dryness fraction is the ratio of amount of dry steam to the total mass of the steam. So suppose the mass of dry steam, as steam is considered as gas, so it is defined as mg divided by mg plus mw. So mw is the wet steam and mg is the dry steam. So mg by mg plus mw is defined as the dryness fraction present into the steam, that is denoted by X. Basically, mg is mass of dry steam contained in the steam, and mw is the mass of water particle into the steam, or it can be considered as the combination of the steam or the wet steam and the particle of water. So that is considered as the wet steam only, or mass of water particle only present into the complete steam. So mg by mg plus mw is defined as the dryness fraction, and this dryness fraction value we consider less than 1. So this X value should be less than 1. But when we are considering X value as 1, so it will be considered as the dryness fraction of dry saturated steam. But if X is less than 1, so it will be what? It will be saturated steam, or we can define as the wet steam, which consists some particle of water. So here this X value we can define on the basis of nature of steam or type of steam present into the cylinder. Now next topic is total heat, or this total heat is also called enthalpy of wet steam. So it is defined as the quantity of heat required to convert the amount of water at 0 degrees centigrade into wet steam at constant pressure. So let me write down the definition. So it is defined as the quantity of heat. Total heat is what? It is the quantity of heat So the quantity of heat which is required to convert 1 kg of water, which is maintained at 0 degree centigrade initially, into wet steam at constant pressure. So it is defined as the sum of total heat of water and the latent heat, and this sum, this complete sum is defined as the enthalpy. So here we can denote this total heat as H. So this H is defined as HF plus X HF G. Or if we are considering dry saturated steam, in that case X value will be 1. X value will be 1 for what? It is for dry saturated steam. So the H value will be HF plus XHFG. So this is defined as the total heat, the sum of total heat of water and the latent heat. So this is about the total heat. Now next term is superheated steam. So superheated steam, when the complete water is converted into dry steam or dry saturated steam. So when the steam is heated, after it has become dry and saturated, so that particular steam is called superheated steam. So this particular type of steam, when the steam has dry and saturated and still we are heating the steam, so that particular steam, that increased amount of steam is called the superheated steam. And the superheating is always defined at constant pressure. It is always carried out at constant pressure. So superheated steam is always considered at constant pressure condition. So this point you have to remember. And this is what superheated steam is what? This is defined as the additional amount of heat supplied to steam during superheating. So it is defined as the heat of superheat, the heat which is converting the steam into superheated steam. So that particular amount of heat is defined as the heat of superheat. Suppose if we have temperature Ts, that is the saturation temperature, and we have TSUP, that is the superheated temperature. Let me write down the unit also. Suppose we are considering unit in degree centigrade. So if we want to define the total heat of superheated steam, so H superheated is what? Superheated steam total heat. So it is defined by what? HF, that is the heat, sensible heat, plus HFG, that is what? It is latent heat, plus the amount of heat present. So T, here it is defined as CPS, T superheated minus T saturated. And how we defined it? It is defined as the heat of superheat. So it can be calculated by using the specific heat of superheated steam at constant pressure, and the value usually varies from 2 to 2.1 kilojoule per kg Kelvin, and this value depends on the pressure and temperature. So according to pressure and temperature, we can define the amount of heat of superheat. And this superheated steam total heat is defined by the formula HF plus HFG plus Cp, T superheated minus T saturated. And the superheated steam is always behave like a gas. So it always follow the gas law. So this point you have to remember. Now there are so many advantages we consider for the superheated steam. So first advantage is by superheating steam, we can increase the capacity to do work. The capacity to do work will be increased without having to increase its pressure. Without increasing pressure, we can increase the capacity of doing work. And when we are increasing the work, in that case, simply we are increasing the efficiency. So the thermal efficiency will also increase. So there are so many advantages of superheated steam. Now next term which we are going to define, it is volume. So volume of wet steam and volume of dry steam. So basically, if the steam has a particular temperature and suppose initially the steam is in wet condition and after increasing the temperature, that steam is converting into dry saturated steam. So in this condition, we can define the dryness fraction of the steam. So suppose if we have the dryness fraction of steam is X. From wet to dry, we can define the dryness fraction. So dryness fraction of steam we are defining as X. And suppose here we have the mass of the water. Mass of water we have 1 kg. So this 1 kg of water is completely converted into the steam. So when it is converting into the steam, so it will consist two type of steam, wet steam and dry saturated steam. Suppose if it is a wet steam, so and if we are considering dryness fraction, so the mass of steam, mass of dry steam, it will be x kg, and the mass of water particle present into the steam, it will be 1 minus x kg. So x plus 1 minus x kg will defined as the mass of water 1 kg. So by this way we can define the mass of dry steam and the mass of water particle, that is defined as the total amount of water. So here the volume of 1 kg of wet steam we can define as the volume of dry steam plus volume of water. So the volume of liquid or volume of wet steam defined as volume of dry steam plus volume of water particle or volume of water. So here the volume of dry steam we can define as what? Suppose it is denoted by Vg. Dry steam we are defining, suppose volume we are defining for the dry steam. Volume of dry steam. So it will be defined with the help of dryness fraction only. So it will be X and Vg. G is representing gas. So it will be what? It will be defined as XVG. And volume of water is what? Volume of water, it will be defined by the fraction 1 minus X. So it will be 1 minus X VF. So XVG plus 1 minus XVF is defined as the volume of the wet steam. Now if we further simplify this, so let me write down here XVG plus 1 minus XVF. So if we simplify this, so it will be, if we open the bracket, so it will be XVG plus VF minus XVF. So it will be what? VF plus XVG minus VF. And this VG minus VF we can define as VFG. So it will be XVFG. So the amount of what? The volume of wet steam we can define as VF plus XVFG. So 1 kg of volume of wet steam. This is our what? This is our 1 kg. 1 kg will be what? VF as the volume of wet or the liquid. Here this is the final formula. This formula we can define by this term, volume of dry steam plus volume of water. So initially it will be XVG plus 1 minus XVF, and after simplification we will get VF plus XVFG in terms of sensible heat volume and in terms of volume of the latent heat. So this is about the volume of the dry and the wet steam. Suppose if we want to define the enthalpy in this term, so enthalpy H we can define by the same term, HF plus XHFG. Suppose if we want to define the entropy, So it will be SF plus X SFG. So here these terms we can simplify with the help of this term, and these terms we will define by the same formulation but in terms of enthalpy and entropy. So these terms you have to remember these formulas. Suppose this is our formula number 1, this is formula number 2, this is formula number 3, and these formulas you have to remember while solving the numerical. You have to define the values of these terms. Either it is given or you have to define these values with the help of steam table. How to read the steam table I will teach you in further lesson. Now if we want to define the superheated steam volume. So as we have learned about the superheated steam, so it is simply behaving like a gas. So we can apply the gas law for this. So here we can define the V superheated. Directly I am writing the formula. So this formula will be defined as V superheated as Vg T superheated by Ts, where T superheated I have already written the temperature of the superheated steam, and Ts is the temperature of the saturated steam. And this particular formula we will define on the basis of thermodynamic relation. P, where the pressure is constant, Vg is the volume of the saturated steam divided by saturation temperature, that is equals to pressure will be constant Vfg, and in denominator it will be T superheated. So by this formula we can define the volume of the superheated steam. Now here I will discuss some basic properties related to steam formation, and these terms are defined as thermodynamic properties of steam, and these properties we can define on the basis of steam table also. So as we have learned about the steam formation, so some mass of the water is present into the cylinder, and if we are increasing the amount of heat, or if we are providing some amount of heat, or if we are increasing the temperature of water, in that case that water will slowly convert into the steam. Initially it will be in saturated condition, and we are continuously increasing the temperature, so it will automatically convert into the dry saturated condition. So meanwhile here there are so many properties we have which is related to water or which is related to formation of steam. So the terms related to formation of steam we can define as the thermodynamic properties. So initially what we have learned, we have considered 1 kg of water inside the cylinder, and if we increase the temperature of water it will slowly convert into the steam. Initially it will be in wet condition, where the wet steam is a combination of dry steam plus the water particles, and when we are continuously increasing the temperature it will convert into the dry saturated steam. So here during this process we are considering number of properties. What are those properties? The first property is what? First property is pressure. So pressure is defined as absolute pressure only. And the unit of pressure we can define as bar or Pascal. So this is first property is pressure. Now the second is Ts or small ts also. It is defined as saturation temperature. And the unit is degree centigrade. Now third is T superheated, or we can denote as small t superheated also. So it is defined as superheated temperature. Now next is HF. HF is what? It is related to enthalpy. So enthalpy of saturated fluid or liquid. The unit is kilojoule per kg. Now next is, it is related to enthalpy only, HFG, which is related to what? Steam. So HFG is what? Enthalpy or latent heat of vaporization. or we can define as enthalpy of vaporization. Unit will be same, kilojoule per kg. Similarly, if we are defining the entropy, so SF. So SF will be what? Entropy of saturated liquid. And the unit is kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Entropy of saturated liquid or fluid. And similarly, HFG, here we will define the entropy as SFG. So it is representing what? Entropy of the vaporization. And the unit will be same, kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Here we have to define the Hg also. So here let me write down the Hg value. So Hg is defined as what? Enthalpy of saturated vapor. Similarly, we will define Sg. So it will be entropy of saturated vapor. And the unit will be kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Now, if we want to define the volume, so Vf and Vg. So Vf is what? It is the specific volume of saturated liquid. And the specific volume is reciprocal of density. So the unit will be meter cube per kg. Similarly, we can define the Vg also. Specific volume of what? It will be specific volume of saturated vapor. And the unit will be same, meter cube per kg, reciprocal of density. So here we can define some more values with the help of these properties. So suppose if we want to define HFG, so HFG we define by Hg minus Hf, and this is what representing, it is representing change in enthalpy only. SFG is Sg minus Sf, it is representing change in entropy. And VFG, we can define VFG also, so it will be Vg minus Vf. So this Vg minus Vf is what? Change in specific volume. And here this will be change in enthalpy. And here this is change in entropy. And here these values you can define with the help of steam table also. So how you have to define? So initially you will have the value of pressure or the value of temperature for a particular type of fluid or particular type of gas. So suppose if we have to define the value of HF. So HF is related to fluid. So here you have to consider the pressure of the fluid or temperature of the fluid, and you have to define the value of HF according to the given pressure or given temperature. Suppose if you want to define the value of Hg, so it is representing the saturated vapor or gaseous term. So here you have to define the enthalpy of gas, which is based on the given pressure or given temperature. So on the basis of these basic thermodynamic properties, you have to define these terms related to saturated liquid or saturated vapor. So each and every property is given in the steam table. The value of these properties is given in the steam table, and these properties you have to define on the basis of given values or given basic values of the properties of the substance. Either it is in liquid condition or in gaseous condition. So the table is called what? It is called steam table. So with the help of steam table, if the values are not given, so you can get the value from the steam table and you can put these values in the related formulas. So steam table is very useful for this particular part or for this particular topic, because sometimes values are not given in the numerical. So what you have to do, according to the basic values, or basic properties of the liquid or the gas, you have to define these advanced terms value. Value will be given in the steam table. You have to pick those values from the steam table and you have to put those values in the related formula or related equation to get the final value or to get the unknown value. So by this way you will solve the numerical which is related to pure substance. Now one more point which I am going to discuss here, that is called the HS diagram. There is no need to learn the complete description of HS diagram. Here this diagram is called enthalpy entropy graph or enthalpy entropy diagram, or another word is molar diagram. So either it is written molar diagram, it is representing the enthalpy entropy diagram or enthalpy entropy graph only. So this is mainly defining the variation of enthalpy. So vertical side will be representing the enthalpy and horizontal side will be representing entropy. We have learned about the PV diagram, we have learned about the PT diagram. So on the basis of different values of P and different value of V, we usually draw the graph like this. Or suppose if we are considering constant pressure, so the graph will be like this. If we are considering constant volume, so the graph will be like this. Or if we are considering both the values are variable, so according to variation we will draw the graph. So similarly, this graph we will define on the basis of variable value of enthalpy and entropy. So different values of enthalpy and different values of entropy will be defined in this graph. So this particular graph is called molar graph or molar diagram. So you don't need to learn these things in advance. Every value of enthalpy and entropy or variation of enthalpy and entropy is defining the HS diagram only. So you need what here? You need the value of enthalpy at different point. You need the value of entropy at different point. And similar to PV diagram, PT diagram, you can draw the HS diagram also. So let's see this HS diagram or enthalpy entropy diagram, which is also called molar diagram. So you can see here the vertical side is representing the enthalpy, which is denoted by H, and the horizontal side is representing the entropy, which is denoted by S. So with the help of this diagram, we can define different values of enthalpy and entropy on the basis of different values of properties like pressure, temperature, and other properties, and on the basis of dryness fraction. This dryness fraction we usually denote by X, and this dryness fraction is discriminating between the wet and dry substance. Suppose we are considering steam. So here we can discriminate between the wet steam and dry steam with the help of value of dryness fraction or X. So here you can see different lines. So what are these lines representing? So you can see the first lines which we are going to discuss, that is pressure line. So these lines are representing the pressure lines, and these lines are representing different values of pressure. Suppose this line is representing pressure P1, this is P2, this is P3, this is P4, this is P5, this is P6, and so on. So on the basis of different values, we can define these lines in molar diagram. So here you can see these lines are representing, each and every line is representing the constant pressure line. It is shown like variable, but this particular line is representing the constant pressure line. The value of pressure is constant here. So these lines of constant pressure are indicated by different values P1, P2, P3, and so on. And these lines will help to determine the different values of enthalpy and entropy. But only these lines are not helping to determine these values of enthalpy and entropy, we need other values also, other properties values also. So here we will define the values with the help of temperature, and this temperature we usually define on the basis of temperature line. So here you can see these green lines, these are represented as temperature. So we can define these lines on the basis of different values of temperature like T1, T2, T3, T4 and so on. So these lines are representing different values of temperature. Suppose here this temperature we are considering as 400 degrees centigrade, this temperature will be 300 degrees centigrade, this temperature will be 200 degrees centigrade. So in between we can draw different lines of temperature. Suppose in between 400 and 300, between 300 and 400, we can define the middle line as 350, or here we can define the line as 380. So whatever values are lying in between 300 and 400, we will draw different lines and we will define the values of temperature accordingly. So these are temperature lines. So these are constant pressure line and these are temperature, or we can say constant temperature line, and these lines will intersect. So we can define the different value of pressure and temperature, and at intersection point we will determine one constant value of other properties. Now let's see other lines. So here you can see saturation lines or moisture lines. So these saturation lines or moisture lines are usually representing the value of dryness fraction, that is represented as X. So here each and every value, this brown line is representing X1 value, the second line is representing X2, third line is representing X3, fourth line is representing X4, and here we will consider different values. Suppose this X1, it is at the higher side, so it will have value 0.9. Suppose X2 is 0.7, X3 is 0.5 and X4 is 0.3. So accordingly we will define the different values of dryness fraction. Here below 1, if X value is 1, it means it is completely dry and saturated steam. If it is less than 1, it means that substance or steam is in wet condition. So at this side only we will consider X value, it will be less than 1, and at the upper side after X equals to 1 it will be considered as dry steam, and at this bottom side or in this opposite side the steam will be considered as wet steam. So here this particular condition we will consider in superheated condition, and this particular condition we will consider as the saturation condition or saturated condition. So accordingly we will define the values of H and S. Suppose in saturated condition, so it will be defined as value of HF, and in superheated condition it will be defined as the value of Hg, and on the basis of difference we can define the value of HFG also. Similarly, in both the condition we will define the value of SF and SG on the basis of values of X, on the basis of value of pressure, temperature and other properties. So here this is a type of Mollier diagram, or here these terms or these lines are representing different values of properties, and on the basis of these values of properties like pressure, temperature, dryness fraction, we will determine the value of Hg, Hf, Hfg, Sg, Sf and Sfg, the values of enthalpy and entropy, where all the values are lying in Mollier diagram. Now, if you want to determine the actual values in Mollier diagram, this diagram is mainly representing different lines like pressure line, temperature line, moisture line, enthalpy, entropy. But if you want to determine the actual value of HF, Hg, HFG, SF, Sg, Sfg, So here you have to prefer this Mollier diagram, and this type of Mollier diagram is given in the book also. At the back side you will get one complete diagram. So with the help of that diagram you can determine the different values of H and F. Now how you will determine, suppose here we have one property like pressure is given 20 bar and temperature is given, suppose the temperature is given 500 degrees centigrade. So here we have two properties. Now here we need to determine the pressure line which is at 20 bar. So these lines, these blue lines, you can see these are represented as pressure. So here we have this pressure 20 bar. So this line, this particular line will represented as 20 bar pressure line. Now if we have the temperature 500 degrees centigrade. So this green line is representing, these lines are representing the temperature. So here we have 500 degrees centigrade temperature. Now if we see both the lines, so first we need to see the intersection point. So the intersection point we are considering here. So at this point we will determine the value of H. And how you will determine the value is Hg or Hf? We will determine the value of Hg and Hf on the basis of dryness fraction values. So here you can see these red lines which are representing the value of X. So here you can see 0.7, 0.75, 0.8, 0.85, 0.9, 0.95 and finally it is 1. So up to this point we will consider wet condition or saturated condition, and above this we will consider dry condition. So up to this line only we will determine the value of HF, and above this we will determine the value of Hg. So accordingly we have to define the value of H. So suppose if the X value is given 0.9, so here we have to see both the values, pressure value and temperature value, and this is the intersection point. And at this particular end, if we consider X value as 0.9, so we have to go further, and on the basis of X value we have to define the value of H. Suppose the temperature is given, it is 50 degrees centigrade, it is quite lower. In that case here we need to see the temperature line, and we need to see the pressure line, and we need to see the X value, and at all the point where all the points are intersecting, at that particular point we can determine the value of H. So suppose if the value is lying in this region in between this red lines, so it will be HF. Above this region it will be Hg. So we can determine the value of HFG on the basis of formulas with the help of Hg and Hf, and accordingly we will determine the value of S, here SF or Sg as well as SFG on the basis of different formulas. So by this way we can determine the different values with the help of this Mollier diagram. So this is all about the Mollier diagram. Thank you so much.